Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the Make Music Income podcast. This is episode number 27, brought to you by productionmusicacademy.com and makemusicincome.com. I'm joined here by my friend and co-host Eric Copeland. My name is Stevie B, and on today's episode, we are going to chat about being industrious and finding work as a composer. Not only is it a lot of work to actually write the music, you have to be industrious there as well, but you have to go out and find clients if custom composing is something that you're interested in, which is for both of us, our client work is are still our top earners. This is something that we talked about in the last episode. And I've had a lot of questions and commentary around finding work as a composer for hire, or just as a freelance music producer in the academy. There's been a lot of chat about that. I want to talk about that. I know Eric has a lot of thoughts about it as well. So let's dive into it. But as always, before we start, why don't we do a little week recap? What's been going on with you?
Well, after a lovely Memorial Day of doing nothing but pool lounging for 3 straight days
Nice.
in beautiful weather, it was perfect weather every day. So a lovely time with my wife just for 3 days in the sun with good food, good drink, and it was a great time. And so back to school and back to work on Tuesday. Just trying to keep things going for clients, keep all the balls up in the air on all the various recording projects I have. And then, of course, finishing up this week, preparing for my next class at the school I'm teaching at that starts on Monday, and doing a bit of curriculum changing and things like that. And also continuing to... I did have a new piece of music income this week, and that is I was sponsored by a company to do a video, and that video will be out on my channel before this airs. So I can go ahead and say it. It's a company called DistroKid that I do all my distribution through to Spotify and to CD and to all these other DSPs. I also use CD Baby for clients, and I use Amuse as well. I use Songtrader, but DistroKid is where I do the majority of all my distribution now out to the DSPs, and I just think they have a lot of cool things about them. So I'm so happy that they are my first sponsor, and it wasn't much, but it was, it was. It was more, or just about as much money as I made on stock music this month in May. So I count that as money that the channel is making. You have to look at sponsorships and affiliate marketing and things like that as part of the channel's income. So that's kind of cool. And so I've got a video coming out about distribution, because I think it's one of those things, again, talking about being industrious, I think it's one of those things that we all have to do. And I know both of us are focused more on trying to get stuff out to our Spotify channels,
Yes.
All the music that we're making and getting it out there. So I'll be talking a lot about that in that video. Otherwise, I also caved completely this weekend. I received a check I didn't know was coming, and so Spitfire's sale.
Oh yeah, right. Are you finished
finally
downloading
got
Album
me.
1 yet?
They finally got me. Yeah, it's down. And the beautiful part is it's NKS compatible, so I can call it all right up on this keyboard, each patch, and go through it. And I don't have to use Contact, which I'm not a big fan of, by the way. And I can call it right up here. So I've been fooling around with Albion 1, preparing to use that on some things, and it's so inspiring. Great package. So I look forward to working with that.
Yeah, it's a great library. It was one of my first Spitfire libraries as well, and I still use it. I still think it's a really well-rounded and a great starter library for orchestral music. So I think
it's really my first really good library.
Yeah.
A costly good library that I bought it almost half off, and so I'm very happy with it so far.
Cool, man.
How about you?
I had a good week. It's cool about DistroKid, and I totally support that you have a little deal going on with them, because I also use DistroKid. I only started using it this year to get some of the tracks, my lo-fi stuff, out to my Spotify profile. And yes, for sure, I still have I have a bit of a backlog of music now that I want to get out to Spotify, and I've been studying Spotify strategies a little bit more. I've been actually subscribed to an educational platform called Entrepreneur, and these guys are actually based. I think they're based in Florida. They might be actually.
I think they're in Orlando.
Orlando,
yeah. I've heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and they do a lot of great stuff, and they've got a whole component on their end about Spotify strategies and everything. So I'm kind of trying to brush up on all the Spotify stuff because I'm a little bit behind. And I'm excited to kind of put some stuff out there, hopefully soon. But otherwise, had a great week. Did my live stream yesterday where I featured everyone's submissions from the May challenge in the Academy, and once again, just blown away by everybody's work. Everyone did such a fantastic job. It was so cool. A lot of really unique and creative submissions. So it was a pleasure to put those out there. If I had
Albion just a few days earlier,
I know, man,
I could have gotten something in.
I checked my email that morning just to make sure. Just to make sure I didn't forget you. Yeah, and I don't know. I guess I'm in it pains me to see the frustration that's kind of palpable in the Discord community surrounding the stock earnings and stuff like that. And we were talking about this a little bit before we press record here. I don't know. I guess it is not fair. It's an uneven distribution. There's a lot of people, are making a lot at the top, and then there's a lot of people that are just suffering, seeing their earnings dwindle. And I think, it's fair to say the distribution is not even with the new payout model. And I guess I'm in I'm one of the guys that's doing well.
We need to be responsible for the type of music that we make. I don't make as much as you because I don't make the kind of music you make. And when I try to, it's not me. It's something else I'm just trying to make music for something. And I am much more right now, just in general, in the even without Albion One, I started to make something for your and listen and try to make something for the competition that you had, or the thing that you had, and I just wasn't into it at the time. My heart wasn't there, and I just felt like a little work, and I didn't want to do work. I only want to create stuff that I love, and so cool. That's why I'm not really. I'm like throwing away taxi emails right now. I am not really making a lot of new stuff, and I'm just not doing. My cat is coming in here and causing us some trouble. Go away. Go on.
Get out of here.
Get out of here, cat. But anyway, I think that a lot of the stuff I do is very unique. It's very fringy, I would call it. And I think a lot of times authors might be like me. They might be doing whatever they like to do, but it may not be necessarily what sells best on a Motion Array or a Pond 5 or an Audio Jungle. And I think we have to take responsibility for that. And if you want to make the kind of money that a Stevie B or who was our friend that was on here on our
Lester,
or Lester, go listen to that music and copy it.
Yeah,
and make that kind of music.
And it's funny that you say that because I actually used one of Lester's tracks as a reference. The other day I was writing some new rock stuff, and I sent him what I made, and I said, "Hey man, I just wanted you to know I used one of your tracks as a reference. I didn't totally copy it or anything, but it was similar structure and same type of mix profile." And he was stoked. He was really stoked and kind of flattered that I'd done that, but. I don't know. It seems as though the few tracks that have done well there that I put up just continue to do well. But the downloads were the most they've ever been in a month.
That's great.
Yeah.
But again, you are creating music that, again, I think people are looking for. Upbeat. It's also got a corporate and different kinds of feel to it. But again, I tell people, hey, you want to make the kind of money they're making, go make their quality, spend as much time and effort as they're doing. And I don't do that. And especially now, I probably will do it less just because my motivations are down because it's bringing in so little income that I almost can't even there's other things that I want to do right now. I actually got one other piece of news. I got kind of a half commission to compose something for a group that's a strange kind of pairing of of instruments that I've composed for before, and that is interesting to me right now. It's probably not much money, if any money, but getting commissions is a really cool thing. When people say,
Totally.
"I love that song you did. Can you write us something else in that similar vein for similar instrumentation?" To me, that's a challenge and that's fun. It's just funny how things are. You have motivation to do some things, and you have motivation not to do other things, and that's what we're really talking about today. Is what are you going to be industrious doing, and the reasons why people succeed over other people in different things, but especially in music.
Yeah, well, on that point, I think maybe the two real reasons that people, I think, find success in music production is that they're industrious on both the musical front. They produce a lot of music and push themselves to write a lot of music, and they put themselves out there a lot, and they're making whether that is working with music libraries or finding custom work. Now, so the sort of theme of today is like, how do you find that work? Well, let's start before you go out trying to find work. I think we need to talk about just like kind of setting yourself up properly. We both have websites. I tell everyone that is either an artist or a music artist, whether you're a producer, or composer, or whatever. I really think that having a website is incredibly important. It's your calling card, and it should. I think you have to ask yourself, like, why? What is the reason that you have a website? What is it for? Something I want to address is that, like, I think that depending on your website should reflect the kind of work that you want to do. It's like if I'm looking to try to get like film scoring gigs or composing gigs, I'm going to craft my website around that. And I think that it's important to not allow your website to just be confusing. And you should be kind of like branding it to reflect the type of work that you want to do. I noticed that like a lot of people send me their websites to kind of review and like take a look at it before, whether it's they're applying to Artlist or whether they're trying to find custom work and stuff like that. And one thing I noticed that like a lot of people do that are coming from like the stock music world or the sync world is that, a lot of people are like us in that they write music in many different styles and genres. And I've seen like quite a few people kind of like embed like multiple different SoundCloud playlists on their website and they all feature like totally different music. I don't know. I mean, what's really like that could be confusing depending on who you're sending it to.
Well, let's put it this way. When I worked full time, all right, let's start with me as a composer / producer and music for sync. I have a site called positivespinsongs.com. And when you go there, it says music for TV, film, blah, blah, blah. And then the first thing you see on that page is these squares that list different kinds of music that I have done, different genres, different albums, things like that. When they click on each one, it takes them to a disco playlist that they can go through and listen to immediately. It doesn't fool around. It's pretty. It looks good, but it's focused on the music that I make, not me or even the musicians that are part of it. But it's focused on the thing that's we're sending people there for is to see and hear the music, and they need to know right away. Now, as soon as I have like placements that are on YouTube or something, I'll put those on there, right? I do have YouTube videos up of that we've done for some of the songs, but mostly it's these playlists that they can go, probably about 12 or more playlists that they can go to and listen to. And then there are deeper pages where they can go find out about me and my history and things like that. But immediately, first page, I want them going and listening to music. And I think any composer or producer, I'm not saying you can only have to be a composer for people. You can just be someone who mixes people, who produces them and does mixes for them and or orchestrates and arranges for them.
Yeah.
And your very front page should probably be something that's showing off what you've done. and let people know that's what you do, because people will want what other people are having if they like what you're doing for people.
I absolutely agree, and I think that like if you take my website for example, there's so many things that I could put on my website, on my bio and everything, right? So I could say that I'm a YouTuber. I run the Production Music Academy. I have this company called Production Music Tools. I write lo-fi hip hop for Artlist. I do composing. I'm in a band. There's so many things that I do, and that I've completely. I just leave those things off the website because it's like, look, like what do you want to tell people on your website? Because if you're telling people that you can be the jack of all trades musically, it's not necessarily the right move if you've designed your website to try to find film scoring work. I mean, that all is just like extra noise to anyone who's coming there to check out my film scoring stuff. And you'll notice that if you go to my website at stephenbedall.com.
Yeah, I'm trying to go there right now.
Yeah, it's all it is a picture of me that says Stephen Bedall, composer. What I don't even know what it says.
It says freelance music composer based in Vancouver, Canada is the tagline.
That's it, right? And then there's a picture, and then all it is just my demo reels. Like and that's by design, right? It's like
that's better than I like that. Last time I saw it, had a lot of stuff from your band and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I cleaned it up.
This is much more who you are, and boy, it gets right to the point. Which is the same thing with what I was talking about with Positive Spin. And then up in the right corner has all your socials, so they want to see what you're doing social wise.
Exactly. And so they can click off my website and go to my Spotify and see that I'm doing other types of music, and it's not necessarily going to hurt my brand or the website. You know what I mean? But the one page of the website, I really feel like it has to be clean and right to the point, and it should be reflecting how you want to be, seen as a freelancer. That website is specifically designed to help me get custom work, and every paying client that I've ever had has scrutinized that website and looked at it.
Make sure for those who are watching or listening later that you put your website in this. I mean, I'm sure your website's probably in all of them, but at the top, put your website and the Positive Spin song site so people can see examples. My personal website is a mess right now because it's although if you go to ericcopelandmusic.com, I start off with works. It just says works. That's all it says on the front page. Right. It just says works, and then it just has all sorts of lists and videos and different things. It's mostly YouTube videos, similar to yours. It's mostly videos of different pieces, but they're all over the place. They're jazz, they're classical, they're pop, they're the rise for the Production Music Academy scoring challenge. I mean, it's everything. Right. And I do that by design because it's my personal site, and I, unlike you, my brands are where I do my work as far as with clients. They find me through my brands, and I approach sync libraries as Positive Spin songs. I approach stock libraries as From the Moment music, and I approach jazz from Player A Jazz. I have brands that do everything for me, but if they want to see what I do, they go to my ericcopelandmusic.com site, and that's a very personal site, and it talks about education and the different things I do there. But still, it's very much like yours in a way. It's all about here's what I do, here's what I make. Mm-hmm. I don't bill myself as a composer for hire as much as a person like you do.
Well, that's exactly the difference. Is that and the way you've designed it may totally work for you. The only reason that mine is the way it looks is because it's
that's all you have.
It's meant to be a calling card for custom composing. That's what I use it for. That's what I built the website for. Otherwise, I wouldn't have a website. So,
and people who want to know about the Academy go to the Academy website.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
and then I have a separate website for my band. So it's like it's all separate, just like you have separate websites.
I know people watching this might say a website seems so old-fashioned and so like yesterday. Isn't it all about TikTok and Instagram and Facebook? And I'm going to tell you that no client is going to go look for your music on Instagram. They're going to go, when they're ready to hire you, And it doesn't matter if it's a corporate client or a personal client. They're gonna want to know where your business website is. It's a business card online.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, at least that's been my experience. I mean, maybe moving forward into the future, websites will become obsolete and people will only look at your social media. But I can tell you from personal experience that the website is still incredibly relevant, and I can see the traffic that it gets. Like people that I reach out to go there. I mean, it's on the signature of every email I send. People go there. Yep. It shows. What does it say to people? Well, it says, look, like, here's what he is, and there's work that I've done right on that front page that I can check out. It's like very simple.
I call it a legitimacy factor or prover.
Exactly.
It proves legitimacy of what you are and what you do, to actually see and hear it, and then say, oh, this is the guy, that's his website.com. But it works that way with brands too. So if you decide to not do this under your name and you decide to do it with a brand name, that works as well. Like it does for your academy, or it does for my different businesses. So either way, I think that, if you are someone who networks a lot personally with people and you're out and about in those kind of things, then maybe a business card with this same website on it is an important thing to give away. Back in the day, I used to give out CDs, and the CDs had all the information on it, but they were also things that people played. Now they don't. So now it's about probably a business card. The best business card would be a really nice looking professional business card on the front, and on the back a QR code that leads them to your website.
Yeah.
and maybe a link tree or something like that
totally,
they can check out different things.
Totally. So another thing, like, so we've sort of established that having a website is important. Another question that I get from the whole like okay, website, good, check. How do you put a demo reel together when you haven't done any professional work? That's a little bit more complicated, but all I can say is that just for, like, if we go back in time and look at my website before I had any professional gigs, it was a mishmash of stock footage that I'd scored and a few projects that I'd worked on for free. And that was a starting point, and I think that you have to sort of start somewhere. And I think that that's like a good place to start. I just got creative with it and resourceful, and there was a demo reel well before I had any real big brand names or anything like that attached to my name. So.
Well, there's two things I think about on this. If in fact you have only ever been an artist on your own, then that means you've likely been making recordings of your own just as an artist, okay? And to be honest, that's how I got my first gigs. I showed people my recordings and they said, can you record me?
Yeah, right.
Now, I would bet, though, a lot of people who are watching this podcast right now or listening to it already have songs up on Pond 5, already have songs up on different licensing places. Mm-hmm. You are ready. You have your catalog and your portfolio to show to people. And this is one of the things that I preach to my students. Everything that you create in these classes, everything that you mix is a possible portfolio piece that is going to possibly bring you work, because people want to see that. So I think that that is a question. And how do you do that? And then, so if you're at that very beginning spot and you're listening to this and you're going, well, I don't even have song one to show anybody. Well, then you have some work to do. You have to, your industriousness needs to be spent on making good music and getting that done first. But I would bet that most people listening to this already have music made that they can put that together on. Mm-hmm. Some of you may have half-assed a SoundCloud or something like that. Trick that sucker out, if nothing else.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere, right? And just exactly, like get a SoundCloud together, put your Spotify together, put your tracks on a playlist on your website, anything. Just get it started. Because I mean, like, I could, I wouldn't even want to see my website. Like if we rewound the clock a few years and I looked at it, I'd be like, oh my God. But I had it up there anyway, just because I was like, well, I got to start somewhere. I got to put this together. And then over the years, it just grew. I just cultivated it, and now it's like I got some professional work to show for, but it didn't happen like overnight. It was a long process.
One last thing I'll say about putting a music website together, and here's another one that you could show off, which is my creativesoulonline.com site. And that really focuses on producing other people. It's not about my music. It's not about the music that I make for me or for licensing. It's about the music that I help other people make. And I think this is one thing I was trying to talk about today, is that it's not just about composing. I know a lot of people listening to this are composers, but you could also just be producers that are looking for work. And the way to do that is not to highlight yourself, but to highlight your clients. Highlight the work you've done by showing them. Show them in the studio. Show their work on your SoundCloud. And again, this might be a business, a studio business, or a producer website or something like that.
Yeah.
And my entire Instagram was always built on taking pictures of the people in the studio and people at their photo shoots and people doing those things, because that was what other people who could be a client for me wanted to do themselves. So they want what they see on your site. And so if it's not a company coming to get Stevie or Stephen Bedall's music, it's a company coming to Creative Soul to produce them and produce everything about them, produce their whole album and be their label, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so they want those services, and those are how you make money. And that site needs to show that business. And I don't think enough people think about this. People have asked me this through the years. How do you find clients? How do you get out there and find clients? I said, I make it about the clients. And I think too many producers, when I start telling them about, I talked about this a minute ago in my my live. I was like, when I would sit down with a session player and they were like, how do you build this business up and have so much work and have so much income coming in? I'm like, it's because I start and I talk about building the website and working with artists and helping them from their songs or consulting with them and doing all this stuff, and their eyes glaze over because it doesn't sound like fun to them to do anything but make their own music. Yeah. And so in order to be a successful producer or studio, you really have to be into the service business. And that is something that is very hard to convince people to do. If you're watching this and you're a producer and you want to serve people and get paid to do it, then you need to show yourself or show you with the clients. You need to show the clients you're producing. You need to show a Stevie B site, but every video is not you, it's the client. And by doing that over and over, and people seeing those videos of artists doing this and artists in the studio and artists at their photo shoot, they're like, oh, that's what I want. I want to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so that becomes business because people email you going, I've been wanting to do my music, and so can you help me? And boom, you have new clients.
Yeah. Yeah, we are here to serve. That is so true. So yeah, I think that to your point about serving, I think that is a great point to make. And I think that when we talk about networking, I think that we have to have service in mind when we approach people. I was just thinking about a question that someone asked in the academy today. Like, he was kind of picking my brain about networking and finding work, and what he was saying as an example, he's like, well, what if I found a lot of this one particular company, they're posting some videos without any music in the background. I don't know where he saw them, maybe on YouTube or some kind of ad that he was served somewhere. But he's like, would it be cool to reach out to them and ask them if they'd want to use my music in the background of their videos? I'm just like, why not? That's a great way to approach a conversation. That's how you approach conversations in real life. You come up and you don't want to ask for something right away. You want to say, hey, can I do something? Can I do this X thing for you? And I mean, that's a great way to start a relationship. You come in asking if you can be of service in some way. I mean, that's a great way to get the ball rolling, right? When it comes to networking, I think you have to be really, it takes a lot of work, but I think you have to be a little bit more careful about, like for example, I think that just emailing like the general inquiries, like email address of like of a production company or an ad agency or something like that is generally just not going to get you any returns on your effort. These companies get hundreds, of emails every single day. So I think where you have to be kind of tricky and smart about things is you have to like do a little bit more research. So for example, I was telling someone in the academy just yesterday that there's a production company that's based just outside of Vancouver here, which does tons of content that is like very like it's amazing. They're a well-known production company that I've wanted to work with for years. And they produce all sorts of outdoorsy type content, which is kind of like, some of the brands that I've worked with, like Patagonia, for example, that is sort of my specialty. I do like, a lot of outdoorsy type stuff. Some of the cinematic folky type tracks that I write are really well suited to that kind of content. Mm-hmm. And so I could have reached out to this production company and just like to their general inquiries, email or whatever, and just being like, hey, I'm Steve and love to work with you. But, that email is almost for sure going to get missed. So what I did instead was like, I looked at their roster of videographers. They had many filmmakers that work for them. And I decided to start networking with them instead, like look at the team that's working for this big company. And these videographers, they're not just working exclusively for this production company. They're being contracted to do all sorts of work, which could potentially require a custom composition at some point. So what made more sense to me was, instead of just like send an email to the top dogs, start building friendships and relationships with the people that work for these companies, because I mean these guys are always in positions where they have a contract and they might be like looking for a track. So it's like you want to sort of reach out and network with people who are at your level. I really think that if you just aim for the top, it generally is just going to fall flat.
Well, it's like the question I got in my live a minute ago, where the guy said, should I just go to a label to release my song, my hip hop song? I'm like, or an EDM song. I'm like, dude, what world are you living in? That's not how this works. It's really never how it's worked. I mean, you have to know somebody or figure out a unique way in, rather than to just get in. I mean, then just send your email or say, oh, well, this record label should put out my stuff because I'm awesome. I watched a video last night that was very good about, it was Ari. I don't know if you know Ari Herstrand, but he had a great interview with a sync licensing pitching company. And the girl that was on there, she said, if someone just sends something to info at our company saying, hey, I'm a great producer, or I'm a great songwriter, or we're a great band, or blah, 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 then it may or may not get seen by the people that, that are watching the emails. But if they dig down enough to find my email, and they know that I am the person who deals with the bands, and they send something to my email, they have a better chance of being seen because they did some work. Exactly. They were industrious.
Exactly. This is exactly the point I'm trying to make. And it's so funny that you had, with reference to the label thing, because like I just had a friend here that was visiting from out of town, and he's an amazing producer. He writes like this incredible electronic music. And he's just been sitting on this pile of incredible music that he showed me, and he's just like, oh, I'm just like, I don't know, like I can't get a label, interested to release it, and and it seems like the labels just don't have any way to like. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, just self-release this music, put it out there. You got it. Like, you got no presence online whatsoever. You haven't even started like you don't have a Spotify profile, a SoundCloud account, nothing, and you're just sitting on these tracks waiting for a label to jump at the chance to like release them. You got to give them a reason to be interested, man. Yeah. It's like you just start somewhere, put out start your profile, self-release this music. You got to get the ball rolling.
We teach that at the school. We teach that labels don't go out and look for new music. In other words, they don't take unsolicited submissions at all, especially the major labels. All artist development is done either by the artist and or an independent label now. And so then someone brings it to a label's attention saying, now they need your help. They need your strength, your distribution and things like that. But if you don't, no major label is going to be interested because they already have the artists that they're dealing with. And if they don't, then someone's going to bring them artists that they've already developed, that are already ready, that already have followers, that already have everything.
That's just it. I mean, major labels for sure. I mean, there's a lot of like, very powerful indie labels out there. And I used to work for one that, and I could tell you that like we would search out. I mean, we had an A&R team that looked, for new, hot music to an artist to work with. But if we see that an artist has done absolutely no legwork to get to get things going in any way, and it's like, well, we're not going to do all the work for you. It's like you got to be a self-starter in this
it's
business.
going to be. It's a little bit like, hey, if you haven't done anything so far to get your music out there, then we probably can't depend on you to do anything once we sign you.
Exactly.
So,
You have to show you have to be industrious, you have to.
The only way that changes is if you are amazing. Like you
True.
have a song or you have something that is so great.
Yeah.
But even then, it eventually becomes another cat issue.
Feline attack.
It eventually becomes a problem with the person, even though if they're super talented, eventually it becomes more than it's worth. It's just not worth it. It doesn't matter how talented they are, and you'll hear that. I don't care how talented they are; they're not worth dealing with because they just don't do any work on their own.
Yeah.
So,
Sometimes people are just super talented, and they do kind of create like a natural sort of buzz around them without having done a lot of legwork. It does happen if you're if you're producing exceptional type stuff. But yeah, normally, generally speaking, and I think this isn't just for labels and stuff like that. You have to get the ball rolling. You have to give people a good reason to want to work with you. You certainly cannot just expect people to be interested if you haven't shown any kind of effort in terms of like putting your stuff out there at all. So, yeah,
I think we've as far as my production company and label go, I am now looking more for artists who can produce themselves than need me to produce them. Mm-hmm. I want to find people who are self-sufficient and able to do all the things rather than me do it. And I will charge them very little to work with them every month and just advise them and give them coaching and consulting, versus doing it for them is going to get them nowhere. If I just do it for them, the minute I stop, they will stop. Like the minute my team or whatever stops making them music and producing videos for them and pushing their social media and all that kind of stuff, it comes to a screeching halt because they won't do it. So I think my new strategy over the course of the next 25 years of my label is that if I continue to do this, it's going to be with artists that I think I'm really super interested in, that are self-starters. And they're not only interesting musically, but they're interesting because they will get out there and let people hear their music. Now, the only downside to that is eventually they will end up and go, you know what? I think I'm just going to start making baskets now for a while. And they will also, and as a label, you like to have control over something making money. So you want it to continue to make money, and you will generate that making money. And that's why labels sign artists to deals for 3 to 5 years or whatever, so they can put together plans and say, I don't care what this artist does, they're under contract to put out music, and we will make sure that we continue to make income from them, and they won't just quit because they're artists, So yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, I think that the whole, maybe the whole point of this discussion is really, it's like everyone that's listening is going to be at sort of a different point in their career, or their trajectory as an artist or a musician, a composer, whatever. And I really think that you kind of just have to sort of get in the habit of putting the pieces together as you go, rather than kind of just like waiting for things to be kind of right, whatever that looks like in your mind, to put things together. Just have to piece it together as you go.
And speaking of of as you go. One of the other important thing that when I gave a big talk to my students on the last night of class before they moved on to the next class. And I said, there's two things that you can do that will put you ahead of everyone else for the rest of your music career. And the first one is keep doing music.
Yeah.
Keep at it. Do it more than the next person, as everyone else falls by the wayside and they just continue. As I just heard it talked about on a great podcast with Dave Croft and Jesse from Sync My Music. If you haven't listened to that, it's pretty good. But Jesse talks about the waiting room analogy. And at first you're in this waiting room with thousands and hundreds of thousands of people. Everybody wants to get in sync music and all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But in a year, that same waiting room is going to be less full because most of those people would have gone off and done something else. That's and in another year, that same group of people is going to be lighter and lighter until soon you're only 100 people in that waiting room, and you're still standing. So the first piece of advice is to keep doing music because everyone else will quit.
Yeah.
And then my second piece of advice, and even more important, is keep doing music. It's a little on purpose to say the same thing twice, but I can't be more serious and emphatic with this, is that the longer you stay with this, the more possibilities of more work that will come your way. Because if you quit, then the work won't come. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah. Man, I couldn't agree with you more. I love that. I think you just have to keep pushing yourself. If this is something that you really want to do and pursue, then it's just like you can't give up, man. You just got to keep pushing yourself, and don't spin the wheels on the same thing. If it's not working, just make sure you're trying new things, pushing yourself into uncomfortable situations, and just I don't know, just be experimental with it too, especially in your initial phases. Like just try working with new genres, try making a song that you've never made before. Just push yourself to see what it is that you're capable of doing, and reach out to people that and whatever, man. Just throw everything at the wall. Just throwing everything at the wall and see what sticks. And you'll figure it out. It's just a matter of time. And it could take a while. So
just keep doing it. Keep getting better. That's the other thing I went back to school in my 40s to get my bachelor's and in my 50s to get my master's. There is no stopping. I mean, and I just started teaching this year, and then I have this YouTube channel that just became a teaching thing, and then I have all kinds of other things that I have new music brands that I put up. A new music brand yesterday for the first time. I put up a piece of this new music brand. Every day is a new opportunity to do something more, either in being industrious about making music or being industrious about making income from music by getting out and finding ways to exploit your music or your abilities. Mm-hmm. And you just have to be at it when everybody else isn't. And it can get frustrating, and you'll want to quit and you'll burn out, and then you wait out the burnout and you come back and you get back into it. Yeah. And that's the key. That's just the key.
Yeah, back in the ring.
I still get music gigs because people email me and say, hey, do you think you hear a melody to this song? And I say, yeah. And a week later, a check arrives. So I'm just saying, I get that because they've known me for 33 years. And they know that I create music, and we've created music from time to time throughout the years. These clients, they keep coming back. They keep, as long as I'm still doing it, they'll keep coming back to me. You know, if I quit, they won't. They'll be like, oh, that's too bad. I had a song. All right, see you later. You know? Yeah. But because a check comes, and that's the answer. Yeah. I'm obliged to continue to be industrious, as Bach says. So.
Yeah, speaking of industrious, I got to get back to writing music because I
took a solid
week off of writing music to catch up with everything, and I got back to it finally last night. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna write some music, and it felt so good. So I'm gonna get back to that right now.
Okay, well, I'm obliged to get dressed and go to school. So, everybody, thank you so much for being here today, and
Thanks,
I hope that we've encouraged you a little bit, and we'll talk to you next week because we'll be here.
We'll be here. We'll always be here.
We'll always be here.
How many episodes do you think we'll get to before the wheels
I
fall
think
off?
50 for sure is going to happen. I feel good about that. We'll see. Maybe this we'll stop and do season 2 after that or something.
Yeah,
like
season 2. Sounds good. Okay, good chat.
Yep. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good week.
Yep. Bye, guys.